The nonsensical delight of Shark RPG Maneater made for an amusing, if somewhat repetitive campaign, but the recycled ideas of its new Truth Quest DLC don't do much to stop that novelty from wearing thin. This expansion mostly offers more of what we've already seen, sending you across a brand new area on familiar missions to eat hapless humans, destroy boats, and kill fellow sea dwellers in over-the-top fashion. These activities are just as fun as they were in the base campaign, but unfortunately, they're just as monotonous too. Having finished his documentary about Scaly Pete, Maneater's hilarious narrator Trip Westhaven, once again voiced by Archer's Chris Parnell, has naturally now gone full conspiracy theorist, sending you on a quest to uncover the truth that the satanic Illuminati lizard people are hiding. Or whatever. What you're actually after isn't very well explained, but the story ultimately unfolds into a by-the-numbers hunt for a creature called the Atomic Leviathan. As over-the-top premises go, seeing Westhaven go from eccentric documentarian to babbling conspiratorial psychopath is entertaining and well-written, even if a lot of the things you're doing along the way feel extremely similar to when he was sane.
That man was an insectoid hologram. I saw the image flickering as he was rendered limb by limb.
That's not to say that there's nothing new in Truth Quest. There's a fantastic new evolution set that turns you into an irradiated demon of the sea, with the ability to shoot lasers out of your mouth like Godzilla. This new ability is cool, but it's also so overpowered that there's little reason to use anything else, as you're able to blast apart even the toughest enemies with relative ease. Watching helicopters get knocked out of the sky and people explode as you melt their faces with it never really gets old, but its mere existence also undermines a lot of the other combat choices you could be making. One thing that does manage to stand out is how much Truth Quest makes use of Maneater's whip shot attack, which lets you grab explosive projectiles and tail thwack them back at your enemies. While the whip shot wasn't required a whole lot to get through the original campaign, it's absolutely necessary in Truth Quest, because some enemies can only be hit from a distance. You can use this to satisfyingly destroy structures or helicopters that would be otherwise out of your reach, or to do serious damage to high-level enemies. The only issue is that you can't use the whip shot unless you've got AI enemies throwing explosives at you, and sometimes they don't when you really need them to. Or they do, but they throw them so incompetently that you've got to flail around desperately to grab one before it explodes, probably taking more damage in the process than you would have if you just gnawed on whatever it was you were trying to blow up. Speaking of dim-witted AI, the humans and sea creatures that are usually pushovers upped their game slightly in Truth Quest, now coming after you with helicopters, massive warships, and freaky new radiation powers that can seriously mess you up. Seeing the new weapons of war for the first time is a thrill, especially facing off against helicopters. Leaping into the air to chew on one of those metal dragonflies is just delightful. Normally, all these new enemies would present a pretty lethal challenge, but since you can shoot lasers out of your doggone mouth now, they're never actually an issue. Oh, the joys of power creep. Outside of combat, there's a new kind of side quest called Time Trials, where you literally and figuratively jump through hoops to complete a circuit in time. That helps break up the routine a bit, but Time Trials aren't particularly exciting overall. Racing around the sea is already something you spend quite a lot of time doing in Maneater, so getting timed while you do it isn't exactly adding much new to the experience. But at least now Chris Parnell will make fun of you as you struggle to jump through rings of fire.
Earlier, Dawdling has this fish looking fatigued.
There's also a new collectible in the form of tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists who hide in hard-to-reach places and spout nonsense, like this.
End the Fed. End the Fed. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's bad.
But aside from those thin additions, all the new missions in this expansion are nearly identical to the stuff we've seen before, like eating a certain number of humans or hunting an apex predator that presents a limited challenge. It's actually surprising how many ideas are reused across Truth Quest's new area, which sometimes feels like it could have been a part of the original game, with how little it distinguishes itself. This short-lived campaign only lasts a handful of hours, even for a completionist run, but the finale, which has you facing off against the Atomic Leviathan itself, is an absolute highlight. It doesn't quite justify a lot of the repetitive questing it takes to track him down, but it at least serves as an enjoyable finale to an otherwise unremarkable expansion. Truth Quest doesn't add much to Maneater's shallow sandbox, but the stuff it does add can at least offer some over-the-top fun. Unfortunately, it's buried under mindless quests in a repetitive RPG that really didn't need more of them. The cool new atomic powers, amusing dialogue from the narrator, and exciting final boss are highlights, but they're barely enough to make the rest of this return to Maneater's Seas worth your while. For more over-the-top action games, check out our reviews of No More Heroes 3 and Psychonauts 2, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Judging by the behavior of wildlife in this area, the bioweapon is also spreading estrogen-mimicking endocrine disruptors.